nervous because I'm here now.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin, here with my co-host James Haskell. In this joyous day, the Baltimore Ravens win in the wild card game 20-13 and advance to the divisional round of the 2021 NFL playoffs. And man, that one felt good, Jimbo.
Oh, that was one of the best victories, I think, as a Ravens fan, other than, the 2 Super Bowl wins. That was one of the best, and the Mile High Miracle. But this one is right up there.
Yes.
My goodness, I just want to say one thing. Titans fans, I'll wait.
Hold on, I'm looking for Derek. I'm still looking for Derrick Henry because he's got a crown on, so I should be able to spot him real easy, right? Because I didn't see him in the game today. I mean, holy smokes.
My God.
Out on your boy.
And I tell you what, I just want to shout out. This is something that Glenn and I both immediately when we hopped on the call before we hit record, we talked about the awesome moment when the Ravens danced on the logo. Totally worth the 15 yards. I don't even care. I mean, it was great. You had these guys in there. I don't even know what Calais Campbell is doing. You know he can't dance.
Derek Wolfe was doing the stinky leg on him. I didn't care what they were dancing, stomping. It looked like they weren't even all on the same page, but whatever it was, it couldn't have worked out better because if the offense is on the field there's really not an opportunity unless you happen to be in midfield, but on defense, you can run to midfield and dance if you want to.
That was awesome, man. I tell you what.
Sorry,
The other thing I just want to say really quickly for all you Titans fans out there, I don't remember your name, but one of you in particular called Lamar Jackson a skinny running back. Well, guess what?
Quarterback. Yep.
Yeah, this skinny running back, made your running back look obsolete.
Well, look, he outthrew your quarterback, and he outran the best running back in the league.
Yeah.
What else can the guy do? You want him to go play DB too?
By the way, he just turned 24.
Yeah, it's trouble, man. It's trouble. But yeah, as you can see, we're super excited. We're into this. We're going to get into some of the stats. We're going to get into some of the, some of the things that didn't go so well in the game. Obviously, we're going to celebrate a bunch of successes in the game. We're gonna reveal the winner of our challenge, who most closely corrected the score. Although I'll be honest, most people had this game as a much higher scoring game.
Yeah.
Ourselves
included, right?
Yeah, surprising to see the Ravens defense able to hold the Titans to just 13 points, and we'll get into some more of that. Actually, I guess we can start right now, Jimmy. If you want to start with the winning team and give some of the Ravens statistics, I'll do the Titans.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll start with our boy, number 8, Lamar Jackson, who was 17 for 24, 179 yards, as you saying, Glenn, who, he out as far as yards go. He outdid Ryan Tannehill. He did have one interception, and that was a rough one. His QBR was 84, and his passer rating was 75. We'll round up to 75. And then, of course, rushing the ball, being that it's the Baltimore Ravens, we can't overlook our rushing attack. Lamar was 16 for 136 and a touchdown. And Glenn, really quickly, that play that he made for the touchdown.
Yeah.
Normally, I feel like Lamar would have just ran out of bounds. Right there.
He had a sense of urgency. Yep.
Oh, absolutely. And he hit another gear. I think that was the gear that everyone knew Lamar was fast, but he hit another gear. Actually, I have a next gen stat for you because I'm that cool. All right. I want to read this.
Cool.
I want to read this to you. So Lamar Jackson reached a top speed of 20.52 miles an hour on his 48-yard touchdown run, the 7th fastest by a quarterback this season. Lamar is responsible for 3 of the 7 by a quarterback this season. Top speed, 21 miles an hour.
That is insane. It's hard to believe that Danny Dimes somehow ran faster than that. His body couldn't even believe it because he fell right over.
And think about this. Danny was running in a straight line. Lamar is never at one time running in a straight line at all in that entire run.
That was just a play where you name any quarterback in history. He couldn't have done that. There's only one guy, and that's Lamar. That play and the gravity of that play. I know you got some more stats you want to get into, but the situation, incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm with you 1,000%. So you know what? You can take as long as you want gushing about Lamar Jackson, Glenn. I ain't gonna cut you off. Don't worry.
That's right.
So, but rushing the ball, we also had some other guys. J.K. Dobbins went 9 for 43 with the touchdown. We needed that one. He looked good in spurts. Gus Edwards only went 8 for 38, so he still averaged 4.8 a carry, but some big ones in this game to close that one out. When everyone knew 35 was getting the ball, He still got the job done. So shout out to
Mhm.
Gus. And then Marquise Brown technically had 2 carries because of the backward passes,
Right.
which didn't end up, they were passes, but
That one scared the crap out of me. Backed up in
it was
your own
up on
end
his next to
zone.
his head.
And you throw the ball backwards. That requires a high level of execution. And then I look at risk reward here. Higher risk, very low reward, 4-yard gain.
Yeah, nonetheless, 2 for 19, 9.5 technically per carry. I
Mm-hmm.
did like to see that. And while that timing
Yeah,
was
you get
bad,
him the ball as much as you
like to
can.
see it.
Mm-hmm.
And so all right, so on to receiving, Marquise Brown will stay on the topic. 7 receptions for 109 yards.
Mm.
His long was for 28. He was averaging 15 and a half a pop. Mark Andrews also, while his stats aren't incredible, he went 4 for 41 with the longest 17, made some big plays in this game. Patrick Ricard, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Patrick Ricard, our third leading receiver, and if I'm not mistaken, I think all 3 receptions were in one drive in that touchdown.
You're right. And Adoree Jackson wanted no parts of that big fella.
No, Patrick Ricard looked at him and wound up like the Roadrunner and just went at him. I mean, that was awesome.
Is he one of the most underrated athletes in the league? I know he doesn't get, but they had him listed today at 311 pounds, 0 fat on his body, 6'3", can run like he can. He's making over the shoulder catches, phenomenal plays as a 311-pound fullback. It's amazing to think that he weighs more than Calais Campbell.
Who's got 5 inches on him.
It's absolutely amazing. So shout out to Project Pat, the player he's turned himself into since coming undrafted out of Maine, I believe he went to the college as a defensive player. To see him turning into the best, in my opinion, fullback in the league, and really it's just him and Juszczyk is the only conversation. So shout out to Pat, man.
Yeah, absolutely. He went 3 for 26, and his long was for 11. Now, there's a couple other guys that contributed some stats there. Of course, Willie Snead had 2 for 9, and then J.K. Dobbins had 1 for -6, which was that bailout play. I don't think Lamar just.
We're gonna get into that play before half.
I don't think Lamar would take another hit. But before we pass over to the Titans, I wanna get into the defensive side of the ball here for the Ravens.
Yeah.
So if you can believe it, our leading tackler today was Pernell McPhee. Had 5 solo tackles and 1 assisted tackle. And Glenn, just talk about what you thought about Pernell McPhee today.
Man, he was an absolute dominant force at the end of the line of scrimmage. It didn't matter who they tried to block him with. He controlled them. I mean, they tried to stick a tackle on him. He just pulled him right out of the way and made the tackle. Not only was he perfect at setting the edge, but the guy was making the tackle as well. He wasn't just, making Henry turn it back inside to help and forcing other guys to get the tackle. This guy was engaging the block, shedding, and making the tackle in the backfield all in one play. Phenomenal game. He kept telling him, stop running my way. I mean, this guy not only was, so it wasn't even just the plays but the passion he was bringing, the excitement. The whole front 7, Jimmy, played with an incredible passion today. I mean, and it started before even the game started when Calais Campbell was walking back to the locker room and walking by the Titans players, letting them know what was going to happen, letting them know that he may have missed that first game, but he ain't missing this one.
Oh, man, that was awesome. And just like you said, the entire defensive line came to play because not only was our leading tackler a guy that played, in the defensive front, but our second leading tackler, Derek Wolfe, not only is he on the defensive front, he's a relatively interior guy, not a stat sheet stuffer, with 6 total tackles, 2 quarterback hits, a sack, a tackle for loss, of course, and 4 solo, 2 assisted. I mean, heck of a game, a whale of a game by the Wolf. Shout out to him. Just to keep going on the list here, a couple others. Marlon Humphrey had 5 tackles and a pass defended. Marcus Peters, of course, had 4 tackles and the huge interception in this game. One other guy I want to talk to, actually, before I go to the second, before I focus more on the secondary, just to kind of round out those guys up front. Jihad Ward had 3 tackles and, of course, had that huge play against Tannehill. That was a loss of 10. Matthew Judon also played solid.
Yeah, what a dumb play by Tannehill catching that ball.
Yeah.
After it was tipped to him. He just lets it fall. It's an incomplete pass. Instead, he loses 10 yards. That really hurt him on that drive.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We also saw Tyus Bowser show up with 3 tackles. Malik Harrison had 3, and we saw Malik more in this game than I think we have in the more recent weeks. Patrick only had 2. Not a huge game by Patrick Queen. And so, the list goes down from there. But one other name I omitted outside of the offensive or the defensive line, but in the secondary was Deshaun Elliott had 4 total tackles and 3 solo tackles. How about that hit where he came in and was so fast? I mean, Jimmy didn't even notice him.
No, Jimmy looked surprised
Yeah.
by the blur entering his frame of vision there. He popped Jonnu Smith. Such a big play because if he's not there, there's no chance that Jimmy stops that big fella from getting a first down there. No doubt about it. And not only does he stop him, but he pops the ball free and makes sure he doesn't even gain a yard. Phenomenal play. This guy, I love his willingness. I love how he flies to the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's impressive, man. And I mean, people thought, when Earl Thomas was gone, people were a little worried. What are we getting with him? Is he going to be able to stay healthy? Well, I think he's answered the bell. He's answered those questions. He's not only stayed healthy, but he's been an absolute force as far as defending the run, and he's holding his own when it comes to on the back end. As far we're not noticing those glaring issues down the middle of the field. We just don't see them, and he's a big part of that, no doubt about it. And then also the one other guy we got to bring up, the hero, your guy, Marcus Peters. Not only was he playing some physical ball out there against some guys that just physically outmatch him. I mean, as much as we love them, they're just some big, strong guys. But he makes the game saving the play of the game, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus Peters gets that interception, and then in true Marcus Peters fashion, runs over and dances. Oh, it was just beautiful.
And then I loved how they kept panning over to him on the sideline, and then they had to stop in like 0.2 seconds because he's just cursing everyone out.
He ain't done. He's still hyped.
No, it was the rest of the game. I mean, it was just every time they try and go over to him, it's like, nope, not yet. Still
not ready
rated
yet.
R.
Yeah, not ready yet. But I want to get into some of the Tennessee stats, and if you're done.
Yeah, I'm done. So I'm ready to listen and
you ready to feel good about this?
Yep.
Because man, all right. So I'm going to start with Tannehill. He goes 18 of 26 for 165 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. He came out absolutely scorching. I mean, did not have an incomplete pass on that opening scoring drive. They did not rely at all on Derrick Henry on that drive, and really just relied on the arm of Tannehill and the hands of A.J. Brown. I was worried early on, but as you can see, ends the game with just 18 of 26, just 165 yards. Outside of that first drive, really got, taken out of the game. I mean, phenomenal job by that defense bouncing back and Wink Martindale making the adjustments necessary. But here's where we got to celebrate.
Yes.
All leading up to this game, I was told how, he's the great, and look, we even said it. He's the best running back in the league right now, okay? And they said, Calais Campbell, yeah, he'll be back. Yeah, Brandon Williams, he'll be back. But we're talking about Derrick Henry here, and we're getting some guys back on the offensive line here too with Saffold and all them. We're going to be pretty good too. Well, Calais Campbell, I can't even give I got to give credit to all of them. This was a team effort. They played phenomenal. They played inspired. 18 carries, just 40 yards on the day with a long of just 8 yards. Jimmy, they didn't have a rushing first down all day. They
How insane is that?
First down.
His longest was what, 8?
8 yards.
8 yards. My gosh.
They played inspired. They eliminated him from the game. And it's just like, I think it was Ryan Clark talking about the difference in these two teams, where the superstar on one end is a quarterback and the superstar on the other is a running back. There is a point where you can take a player like Derrick Henry out of the game, especially because of the fact he does nothing in the passing game. It's not a player like Christian McCaffrey, who if you're down a lot and you're forced to throw, well, he can go be your slot receiver. Saquon Barkley, who by the way, tweeted during that right after that Lamar run and just said, sheesh. When Saquon Barkley's just like, sheesh. But yeah, Derrick Henry only getting 40 yards. Just wow. What else can you say, Jimbo?
Look, this is what I can say. I'm going to quote I'm not a believer myself, but Justin Bieber has the perfect song by which
spit my drink out, Jimbo.
With which I can quote. All right, I'm not gonna sing it on air.
No, you can
I'm
if you want
to sing it, but this is all I want to say about Derrick Henry and the run game. Look, this is just a quick verse here. It says, "See, I gave you faith. Turn your doubt into hoping. Can't deny it. Now I'm all alone, and my joys turned to moping. Tell me, where are you now that I need you, Derrick Henry? Where are you? Love it." So happy right now.
Oh man, he's got to take the crown off and put the jester hat on because Even his coach would look like he was digging in him a little bit on the sidelines, man.
Yeah, he's got to give that crown over to Lamar Jackson. I mean,
Yeah.
geez,
I mean, when you're outperformed through the air, and your quarterback's outperformed through the air, and your running back is outperformed by one guy, that's pretty impressive. Tannehill, we talked about his athleticism leading into this game. Just 2 carries, just 6 yards. Not a
looked a little
factor.
over the hill.
Yeah. You're such a cornball. And then receiving, I got to give credit to A.J. Brown, man.
God.
That dude is no joke. I mean, first of all, he got away with a push off in the end zone. No doubt about it in my mind. They can call us complainers. It would have been right on the front of our minds had we ended up losing this game, because he definitely pushed off. But with that being said, Jimmy, how many guys in the league could push off and physically out just manhandle Marlon Humphrey?
He made him look skinny. I mean, he's well constructed, to say the least, right? I mean, my goodness, AJ Brown looks like he belongs in purple and black. I'm going to be honest.
It would be nice. It'd be nice if we could find a guy like that once
in our lifetime.
Once before we die, that's not a tight end that can do what he can do
in the draft.
Yeah, of course. And who's not, already near or close to the end of his prime. AJ Brown, it seemed like in the first quarter, Jimmy, and I put this note down, there was 3 or 4 occasions where I said, did he really just catch that ball?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't all AJ, it was some of AJ, but they made phenomenal plays. So while they were moving the ball and they were successful, it didn't look like it was coming very easily. Now, the one play I will say looked pretty easy was the Ferkser slant route across the face of or I believe it was right behind Patrick Queen, where Patrick Queen he didn't play the ball well or play the play well at all. And Ferkser ended up having a long catch and run, which we talked about Yak being so important in this game. But outside of that play by Ferkser, that was the only real example of Yak that I could see that really hurt the Ravens. And that's big playing a team like the Titans, man.
Yeah, my goodness. I agree with you. The Yak was up and down, but overall, I think that we did well. And
did I even give his stats?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, let me just. He got 10 targets. He turned that into 6 catches for 83 yards, and that touchdown we were referring to. Ferkser had 2 for 44. Let's see. Derrick Henry added surprisingly 3 catches for 11 yards out of the backfield. But not a lot to talk about on the through the air outside of AJ Brown and that one play by Ferkser. Really just, shout out to this defense, man. But as far as their defense goes, got to give a couple guys credit. Landry ends the game leading their team in tackles with 10, including 8 solo and 2 sacks. They were getting after Lamar, especially early on. I thought Byard was making some good pressures, although he wasn't able to turn him into a sack. I thought he made some really nice pressures. I thought Desmond King, who they traded for or near the deadline, I thought he was playing really well, certainly in the first half. But it was just too much, man. It was just too much Lamar. Too much Dobbins. I would have liked to see Dobbins. Let me tell you something, Jimmy. Let me just get back to it. In that first half, I was a little upset with Giro. Okay. I thought he had a fantastic second half. That opening drive in the second half was absolutely fantastic. But
masterful.
It was masterful. It was beautiful. They were using the flats to get the ball out of the hand quick of Lamar to get him in a rhythm. It was perfect. But there was a couple head scratchers there today. First of all, the reluctance to give the running back the ball. Now, I know a lot of these were option plays, and I felt like Lamar did not make the right read on a few of these option plays where he decided to pull the ball out, keep it himself, and he was tackled for a loss or a very, very short gain. I thought he kind of misread some of those, but I did not like seeing Lamar, once again, doubling up our running backs as far as touching the ball on the ground early on. It was driving me crazy.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you 100%.
What are we doing? But luckily, they seem to start, figuring it out a little bit, getting the ball to Gus, getting the ball to JK. But because I thought Lamar was tight when the game started. I did not think he was throwing the ball well.
Right.
That interception, Jimbo, was absolutely horrendous. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about how you think Lamar Jackson started, because that interception was bad. He was late on a throw to Mark Andrews that probably should have been a touchdown. And then he was late on a throw to Andrews right after on third down that forces us to attempt a field goal. So what did you think about Lamar opening the game?
Yeah, I was frustrated, but I was starting to feel really bad. I was like, poor kid, he's going to get pummeled after this game because he looks exactly the same as he did last year. And even, you could go back into his first year in the playoffs. While, I mean, he's obviously progressed, but that he hasn't taken a step. He hasn't evolved and matured as a player since then. So I was starting to get worried for his own. I feel very defensive of our quarterback, and I hate seeing people, put him over, throw him, or what's the phrase? Rake him over the coals. There you go.
Yep.
And so for me, I was really concerned. But I tell you what, and I know we'll get into this a little bit, but the resiliency by Lamar Jackson, once again, with that run, it just settled everyone in. Said, okay, let's take a breath. We can do this.
Yep.
Let's take it a play at a time. So, but yeah, at the beginning, I was concerned. I mean, look, everyone that was watching the game with me, including my dog, left the room because they were that done with me.
Yeah.
So.
No, it was tough because you're right. I was like, man, we wanted these questions answered. It looks like we're really at that point just providing more ammunition for that narrative to continue and even expand. It's 3rd and 9. We're down 10-0. It's not looking, and then that run, I mean, it changed everything. It loosened up, everyone on the field. I love the way Hollywood Brown played today. I thought getting him that ball early on a lot of occasions, anytime Adoree Jackson was going to give him a 10-yard cushion, they were happy to eat that up with a nice 8-yard gain to him. And I loved the connection. I still continue to I think that they are going to just continue to work and get better and better together as a tandem. But yeah, I thought he played really, really well today. What were your thoughts on Hollywood, in general?
Look, I was so happy with the overall, I know he didn't get in the end zone, but Hollywood's game overall made me so happy because he showed to me what he's been missing: aggressiveness, the elusiveness, the ability to cut it upfield. Yeah, he didn't break anyone's ankles like Lamar Jackson, of course, would on a weekly basis, but he was elusive enough. He got a stiff arm out there, got yards after contact. So to me, Hollywood gets an absolute A and A+. And to me, he is an essential part of this offense to put pressure on the defenses moving forward. If he can be a guy that can beat single coverage high, but also, single coverage over the top, but also do damage in the short game that Lamar can get the ball out too quickly, look out, because we're going to be able to spread you vertically and continue like we have been spreading you horizontally. I mean, it's just awesome. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And also I want to point out that he probably was matched up against the single fastest cornerback in the entire National Football League in Adoree Jackson, and yet he was still respecting his speed and giving him a cushion. So I can just imagine when you go up against, now there's still some really great corners left in this playoff run, especially if they end up having to go to Buffalo and go up against guys like Tre'Davious White. But I don't think any of them match the speed of Adoree Jackson. This guy was an Olympic, track star type athlete. So if you can run away from him, I mean, because that one play where he showed his burst, to me, it was more so he didn't even use make you miss. He just used an incredible burst up the sideline, which it looked like he ended that play on a cramp and ended up going to the sideline for a few minutes and getting some fluids and coming back out. But I just love the fact that he's just getting more and more comfortable, and we're seeing more of that yards after catch we were hoping for, him coming out of Oklahoma. There's no doubt about that. But one other question I had, Jimbo, my man Justin Tucker, we love him. I mean, we wouldn't want anyone else in the league. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But the bottom line is he missed a field goal today that was pretty darn important, that would have put the lead back to 7 instead of 4. Now, he ended up redeeming himself very shortly after by making another one over 50. But, does that make you worry that we somehow, we lost the kicking game today against, a team where I thought we would easily have that advantage?
Yeah, so at first I was really upset because, when we came down and scored again, that would have put that game out of reach if we had those 3 on the board, because it wouldn't have been a 7-point game, it would have been a 10-point game, right? So I was really upset. But then I thought after the game was over, I thought, you know what? How many times are we going to be able to say we lost the game because of Justin Tucker? The only thing I can think of is that New Orleans game where he missed that extra point. So if we're going to have to put the fate of the game in Justin Tucker's hands, I'm going to gladly do it, or on his leg, his foot. But I'm going to gladly do it because I think 99 times out of 100, he's going to get the job done. So while I was upset, I'm not concerned. What about you? Are you concerned about it?
No, I'm not, but I was surprised. I mean, he's been so good in his career from over 50 that you almost start taking it for granted. But look, it was still at the end of the day a long kick. He missed it. Luckily, it didn't come back to bite us. But let's be honest, if they go down and take the lead there, that's the first question that's going to be up is, this guy's the best kicker, in NFL history by a lot of people's estimation. So he's got to make the kicks in big moments. You know, that was the thing. That's what really got Vinatieri to be this guy that we anticipate going straight into the Hall of Fame, is the kicks he made in the playoffs and in big moments. So if you're going to make those kicks in the regular season, that's all great and good. You know, the only guy above 90% for his career with a minimum number of whatever kicks, but you got to make them when they count the most in the playoffs. So hopefully we don't see any more misses, but you know, it's JT. So we don't expect to.
That's right. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
At the end of the game, you know, I know that Dobbins had a big one, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that last drive. But really, to me, it was back to the two guys that came out of the gates rushing the ball from Lamar's rookie year. It was about Lamar Jackson and Gus Edwards. And to me, that tandem has the potential to be, I mean, I think it already is something special, but it's really fun to watch them continue in their third year, because I think that Lamar is maturing as a player and Gus's game has fundamentally improved every single season. I mean, it's a really impressive to see that he was not anything close to being polished by the time he came in the league, and he's looked better and better every year. So to me, while Lamar had that big run at the end, when everyone knew we were running the ball, we gave it to 35, and he still got the first down when we needed to. And not in just one play. I mean, there was a couple plays where he was, you know, beating down the door to get, you know, finally to get that, I think, 8-yard gain for that last touchdown. So my question is, how valuable is Gus Edwards to this team, man?
Man, he's one of our most underrated players. There's no doubt about it. I mean, so many of his runs are second effort, where you see that first contact is either at or near the line of scrimmage, and then he just bursts through it for an extra couple yards. And oftentimes those extra couple yards are what's needed for the first down. And not only that, but if you remember, it was a huge run where he was lined up to the right side of Lamar Jackson. And it was a designed quarterback run where Gus, instead of taking the handoff, becomes the lead blocker out in front, as Ricard was lined up in the traditional tight end position. So Gus became his lead blocker. And man, Adoree Jackson again, I know I brought him up earlier. He was in front of him, and it was just pushing him down, until this ran out of room. I mean, he's just so valuable. I mean, he's 238 pounds. So if he's coming down as a fullback in a blocking position, he's going to outweigh most of the time, because he's typically going to be doing that on the edge. He's going to be going up against safeties and corners where he's going to outmatch him physically. So he's so great at the role. He is the most valuable on this team. Like, as far as, he wouldn't have this value on any other team that he has on our team. He is at his most valuable when he's in a Ravens uniform. And I sincerely hope that he's in a Ravens uniform next year and for years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. So you touched on it. So let's keep this thing going. Pat Ricard, I read his stats. Of course, he had a huge game, and really that one drive, he was the defining player in that drive, where he had 3 receptions himself and 2 punishing plays on Adoree Jackson, who is certainly having a hard time saying his ABCs at this point right now, right? So with great touch and ability to catch the ball and then punish the DBs on the other team, I mean, how valuable is he? We kind of touched on it, but talk to me about Pat Ricard, man. What else can you say about him?
He's got to be one of the favorites on the team, especially from the coach's staff. I mean, first of all, whoever decided to try him at fullback, they did a story about that in the offseason, and they revealed who that person was. I think it might have been Rossberg or something, maybe his first, Pat's first year. I can't remember exactly who it was, but somebody thought of the idea to throw him back there. And whoever it was, thank you so much.
Yeah,
because
you deserve a paycheck in the mail.
And these coaches, this coaching staff, a lot of people undersell the value of coaching in this league. They think every coach is equal almost in the NFL. Well, if you're in the NFL, you got to be a pretty good coach, especially positional. Well, I don't know many coaches who would have taken on the challenge of turning a 310-pound defensive tackle into the league's best fullback. Yeah. But whoever took on that challenge, shout out to you, because you nailed it. This guy is incredibly valuable. I would love to talk to opposing linebacker coaches leading up to this game and just ask what challenge Pat Ricard brings to a defense, because the guy is just an underrated, talented player and maybe one of the most underrated athletes in the entire league. But one thing I want to talk about that kind of got me a little peeved off this game, Jimbo, right before half, if you remember, the Ravens were moving the ball. They had just found, I think, Hollywood Brown for a nice first down, got the ball to midfield, and we're looking to try and, get in field goal range. But after that play to Hollywood, they elect to not use one of the remaining 2 timeouts to try and get the ball up and get another playoff. And of course, it just looks like a sloppy mess. He tries to dump the ball down as he's being tackled to Dobbins, who catches it because I think he had to, because I think it was a backwards pass and he didn't really have a choice. And he catches it for a negative play. And then we're forced to take the time. It just made absolutely no sense. You take the timeout right when that ball is caught. It's too big of a gain to not take it and to expect those guys to get up. And then you don't even spike it. You try and run a play. It was just a disaster. Thank goodness, again, like we said before, another gaffes this game. It didn't come back to bite them, but it certainly could have. What were your thoughts during that last series?
Yeah, I was flustered because I mean, just like Lamar, his pocket awareness, I don't know, for some reason it just seems different to me against the Titans, right? Like they're not a relatively great pass rushing team
They're
or anything
terrible.
like that. Yeah. Right, they're last in the league. So, I was concerned about it, and I'm concerned about it moving forward, like into whether it's the Bills or whether it's the Chiefs, because things like that are going to, while they could have today just as easily, no disrespect to the Titans, they didn't, but in a game in the next week, those situations only become magnified, to the nth degree.
Yeah.
So that's my concern, is that I hope that they take care of it in practice and we see an improved situational type football in those moments.
Yeah, because I think in these next couple games, whether it's the Chiefs or the Bills, you cannot make mistakes against these offenses and expect to keep up. Because I don't think, as good as we played today, I don't think
Right.
we can expect to hold Buffalo or Kansas City to 13 points like they were able to do today.
Well, let me talk about this for a second. And I know we've been gushing about Lamar Jackson all day, but like you said, he outpassed Tannehill and he outrushed Derrick Henry by a long shot. But one of the things I want to talk about is the timing of his. I mean, he had a multitude of big runs, but the two big runs at the end of the game, of course, and then the touchdown run. Those two runs, the timing could not be better. What does that say to you about Lamar's competitiveness and then, his desire to win? Because people always talk about, oh, he gets all these individual stats, but I think guys that only acquire individual stats, yeah, I guess they have a desire to win too, but the timing of Lamar's ability to break off those two runs said a lot to me. Like it meant that he's maturing as a player and he's just the ultimate competitor. But what did it say to you? Did that matter to you that he not only ran the ball, but in those huge moments?
Yeah, I think the old saying, big time players make big time plays in big time games and situations. That's what you want to see from the guy that, is the MVP, is the guy that we expect to be leading our franchise for at least the next decade. But we hadn't seen it in the playoffs yet, those big time plays in those big situations. And man, it felt good to see it because, we were down 10-3 at that point, and really it was 3rd and 9. It wasn't looking good. Even the times we were able to get first downs, it seemed like we weren't getting first downs at all on 1st and 2nd down. We were having to get them on 3rd on 3rd down, which at the time we were making a couple, but not a lot. So it was starting to get a little bit worrisome. And if we were forced to punt there, I don't know how this game is different. It could have been a whole lot different, because not only did we even the score there, and it was a great play, but I just feel like a weight was lifted off the shoulders of Lamar and the rest of the offensive players, and maybe a little bit on Giro and Harbaugh as well, and kind of loosened everyone up, man. Just like, all right, we can do this. And then you come out, you get a stop right after that. It started to snowball now. So I love the fact that he made a big play. And then at the end of the game, that big run to seal the win after a kind of a head scratching play by Giro, to call a throw in that situation when there's 1:40 left. They have 3 timeouts. I think everyone and their brother expected us to run. And if necessary, we're punting and they have no timeouts left. And there's like a minute and some change left, and they got to go the length of the field. But instead they throw it. It's an incomplete pass, and I'm throwing stuff, going nuts. Like, what are we doing? And then the very next play is the run by Lamar where, he played it so smart. He slid, making sure he kept in bounds, kept that clock rolling. It was fun, man. It's fun to see it, but I still want to see more of it. I want to see him get out to a hotter start. That way we're not so stressed out, and this doesn't become an issue. You know what I mean? Just let's start a little faster next time.
Absolutely. I wanted to see him, do the Michael Jordan, like calm down after the touchdown.
Or A-Rod will do that too.
Yeah. Like, I mean, after that touchdown, it was like, all right, everyone take a breath. because this is not going to be the same as last year, but that was a defining moment for him, certainly. But let's move over to the other side of the ball, talk a little bit about the defense. I know we've touched on a lot of these things, but I still think there's a lot to dissect here. The defense holds the white hot offense of the Tennessee Titans to 13 points. 13. Count them up. I mean,
unreal.
Geez, a whiz. So what is going right for our defense right now?
Well, I mean, I think they're healthy. That's the biggest one. They're finally getting the pieces that this is why Calais Campbell was brought here for this game. This is why Derek Wolfe was brought here for this game. And they both performed. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. This offense, look, there's a reason their offensive coordinator got an interview lined up with all the head coaching vacancies out there.
It's insane.
6? Yep. 6 for 6.
Mm-hmm.
This is the number 2 ranked offense in the National Football League. I mean, this is a team that doesn't turn the ball over. They don't shoot themselves in the foot. They run the ball better than anyone but the Ravens. And yet they held them to 13 points. And really in the second half, it was bad. I mean, it was pathetic offensively from them in the second half. Derrick Henry, I've never seen him so demonstrative in his frustration in my life. Have you ever seen him showing visible frustration on the field and on the sidelines?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. He was visibly upset. And it was uncharacteristic of Derrick Henry. So that was certainly shocking to me. Something that they're not accustomed to. And the other thing I want to say in regards to that, huge shout out. We already did this, but it's worth another time, to our front seven, holding, of course, Derrick Henry to 40 yards on 18 carries. Wolf, Campbell Williams, Ward, Pernell McPhee, even, guys at linebacker with Queen, but also Malik Harrison had a couple of good pops there.
Judon made a real nice play in the backfield once.
Yeah, but I think what you said is key. Health is important because, like you said, being able to have the full rotation of healthy bodies to throw out there, where Brandon can then come out, and you got Justin Ellis in there for a couple plays, and Calais coming out, and then you got these guys rotating through. Not only that, but it adds to the deception of the defensive plan, right? Like who they're sending, who they're not sending, and things like that. But speaking of our plan, Glenn, Wink talked about
your key, because that was your key to this game, Jimbo.
Yeah, absolutely. So Wink talked about this, and I piggybacked off of it, is bouncing back after big plays. How happy were you to see our defense respond after those big moments?
Oh, man, it was incredible, because not only were they incredible plays by the Titans players making insane catches, but I thought they were helped a little bit by the refs too. So they had to bounce back from a mental standpoint in two different ways. Not only am I kind of being outmanned right now and kind of, out physicaled, which is something Marlon's not accustomed to dealing with, but also now the refs are kind of jamming me. I mean, to be honest, I don't know how they didn't call a push off there. Everyone and their brother thought that was a push off from the moment it was played in high speed. I didn't need super slow-mo to see a push off there. It was clear. And he was pushed to the ground. Like, it's not like he was just knocked back.
He was totally Dwight Howarding him.
Yes, it was clear. So the fact that they were not only able to bounce back from the plays the Titans were making, which were phenomenal, but now they're even bouncing back from that. They hit us with an offensive of course, that was on the other side of the ball, but it just seemed like the refs weren't on our side either early. So to come back and perform the way they did, and we talked about before the game too, Jimmy, it doesn't matter if Derrick Henry gets 17 carries and he only has 25 yards. He's getting an 18th carry, and he could go for 50, and then all of a sudden he's got 18 carries for 80-some yards, and then his day looks pretty good. I love the fact that they never relented. They kept dominating at the line of scrimmage. If you watch highlights of the previous games, we weren't winning the line of scrimmage. The line of scrimmage was being pushed back 1 or 2 yards into our defensive. That wasn't the case this time.
Nope.
They were establishing the line of scrimmage. They weren't going to be bullied. They weren't going to be pushed around. And man, I mean, just shout out to them. The bounce backs. I mean, everything. I mean, the defense. Wink deserves.
That's what I was going to say.
A half a game ball at least.
Yeah, just cut it right in half. Here you go. No, I agree with you 100%. That was one of my concerns going into the playoffs. Is Wink's inability, or his stubbornness, his live or die type mentality, which can be great when you live, but when you die, and you notice that it's not a very rigid game plan, it's a concern. You see a guy like Bill Belichick, who's a head coach, when his defense is struggling, he huddles them up and says, look, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. Scratch it all. We're doing this, right? And so to see Wink make those adjustments on the fly, great sign for us because, we have whatever offense we're playing coming up, they're high flying offense.
Yes.
So it's definitely going to be something that we're going to need to tailor fit a plan for. And you touched on the refs there. Just to say quickly, what did you think about the Willie Snead call? I thought it was soft and lousy, but let me ask you this. I'm sure you agree with me there, but is there anything Willie Snead could have done better? I mean, I guess he makes it more convincing. Like he sticks his hands out more, like he's coming after the pass. He doesn't lean in with the shoulder. What do you think?
Right. Yeah. I mean, really just him standing there was enough to get the job done. So the fact that he impacted the guy with his shoulder was something he should not have done. But even in that scenario, at 4th and 2 in that game situation, the ref has to make a call there to know that it was inconsequential. Like the guy, just the mere fact that Willie was standing there was enough just to make him go out of the way to get that play open. I thought it was
context, dude. Use context clues.
Exactly. That moment was too big to make a ticky-tack call. It was our first and only offensive interference call of the season, Jimmy. So this isn't a play that's called in any game very often, and it's not been called all year against the Ravens. But at the same time, Snead, you're a vet. I expect you to know better than that. Like you said, he turns, he does the whole, even though we all know what you're doing, you're setting a pick, but you got to sell it. You turn and act like the ball's coming your way. You got to sell it better than that. But at the same time, ticky-tack, unnecessary call.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I was losing my mind. And I tell you what, Lamar didn't do any favors for J.K. Dobbins on that pass. That was difficult. No. He ended up falling forward and everything else. Yeah. I mean, my goodness. But all right, so let's hand out some 410 sports talk game balls, baby.
Let's do it, man.
Yeah. So
you gonna start on defense?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna let you give your first crack here. Defense is where we'll go. Where are you going? Hand it out.
To me, throughout the whole game, I kept saying one name. I kept seeing one guy making big play after big play on the king himself, and that is Pernell McPhee. The old dog, the guy we brought back to show these young boys what it's like to play like a Raven. Well, he did it today, man. He brought his lunch pail. He brought his hard hat. He strapped on his Timberlands to play a real man's game today. He was dominant, man. It didn't matter if it was a tight end, a tackle. He was manhandling him at the point of attack and then making the play on Derrick Henry to boot. I mean, it was impressive. And just the passion he brings, the amount of energy he brings to the field, it's contagious. I mean, shout out to Pernell, man. Who you got?
Yeah, you got to be a dog when your name is Pernell and people aren't messing with you, right? Like, come on. So my guy, of course, it's got to be the defensive play of the game. Marcus Peters came up in the biggest of moments. Yeah. While the guy did fall, I'm also not convinced that too many of our other corners would have the wherewithal and the hands. I'm going to be honest. I don't think Marlon's making that catch. I don't think Deshaun Elliott's making that catch. Maybe Jimmy, but I don't think so either. I mean, that was a bang, bang thing. As soon as he fell, that ball was already on its way. And he still made that catch clean and let everyone know about it. Marcus Peters in a high leverage moment makes the biggest defensive play of the game. So I got to go there. Now, offensively, Glenn, I'm going to keep this thing going. And I talked about this earlier, but I'm giving my game ball, maybe surprisingly, but I'm giving it to Hollywood Brown.
Okay.
I'm giving it to Hollywood Brown by his ability to psychologically and actually in the game turn the corner. I think what you said was really important. It wasn't that he was being shifty, but his burst was otherworldly today. And in a game like today, where it was going to be close, where they were going to put all the pressure on us to pass the ball and our skinny running back, he did everything he could to help Lamar Jackson out. Right. And he showed up big in big moments on big plays. I don't think he had a drop, did he? Had 7 targets for 6 carries, no drops. Yeah. And so shout out to Marquise Brown, because when he's playing like that, I mean, so many problems we cause for defenses. So that's my offensive player of the game. Where are you going?
Yeah, I think that's a great call. I got to go with the guy though. I got to go with our Superman, our guy. The only other option, I mean, Dobbins had a great game and a bunch of guys had a great game, but to me, Lamar Jackson, I'm so happy for him. We can finally put to bed this ridiculous narrative that somehow only gets applied to him, even though he's the only now quarterback, I believe, to win in his draft class, or maybe the second to win a playoff game out of his draft class. Or is he the only one? No, he's the only one,
he's the second, but only because of order, only because Allen played yesterday.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, it's ridiculous. Let's talk about what Russell Wilson's done the last 4 postseasons. You know,
Yeah.
if you want to talk about. So it was a ridiculous narrative to start, but it's finally over. He not only broke out this playoff, you can't win a playoff game, that's gone. Can't come back in a playoff game, that's gone. I mean, he silences all critics. He has a phenomenal game. Like I said, not a great first quarter, but an excellent second, third, and fourth quarter. The guy was really, really good, man. I'm happy for him. I'm happy that it's finally over. And let's, if it's Tennessee, let's go. Bring it
Wait,
on.
we just beat Tennessee.
I mean, I'm sorry, Kansas City. If it's Kansas City, bring it on.
Yeah.
Andy, come on, Andy. What you got, Andy?
No, you know what I love? You know what I love, Glenn, is that now I've talked about this before, but the truck is now at the top of the hill. And I feel like we've crossed the tipping point to where everything that happens now, I believe, is gonna come a little easy. Not that the opponents are gonna be easier, not that the games are gonna be any lower leverage games or lower stakes. All that is going to be the opposite. But I think psychologically, this does everything for the Ravens. Once your point is validated and you see it happen, it just starts happening over and over and over again. I cannot wait. You guys make sure, all of you out there, make sure you stick with us.
Oh, hold on. I think we almost forgot something.
Our challenge?
Did we forget our challenge?
I don't think you mentioned the guy that won, actually. That's a great point. Challenge winner. Go, Glenn.
Yeah, sorry. B. James, my man B. James, who's been with it. I mean, I see him in the comments section in virtually every video. I'm not sure if I remember, but he did predict 35-3, which the score wasn't, as far as the margin wasn't but we did only ask for total score prediction, and he was the closest, predicting 38 total points. And I want to shout him out because I saw him over in the Titan Upload comment section, letting them know who was going to win this game. And yeah, he was the closest. Most people picked this to be a much higher. So B. James, shout out to you. But let us know what you guys think. Let us know your player of the game, just your overall thoughts on the game. And we're ready for this next opponent, whether it be the Bills, whether it be the Chiefs. Let's go, man. We're ready.
Let's do it. We'll talk to you guys soon.
See you.